Hi guys, this is Crane from the Eccentrics, and this is my weekly Q&A. Okay, now throughout the year, I've been getting a lot of emails and questions about different things concerning dance, some even concerning voice acting, some things even concerning philosophy, Christianity, a lot of different things. And I've always felt bad that I never really got the chance to get back to you. Social media is really not my strong suit, but hopefully I can make amends and rectify all of my shortcomings by actually posting weekly Q&A videos that will, focus on the questions that you've sent me through Twitter and email and even just in comments or Facebook. So, hope that this will somewhat make it up to you for the times that I have been absent in your life. My children. I'm just kidding. Alright, so let's get to it. Okay, Kimberly asks, what is your ethnicity? Well, Kimberly, I am Filipino, Thai, Russian, and Chinese. Alright? Which most people would call just Filipino. Alright, Adriana asks, anything pertaining to musicality? In terms of musicality, usually this is how I break it down. I break down musicality into three different things, alright? Three different aspects, alright? The first out of those aspects is what I'd like to call translation. Now, translation is what I'd like to call the interpretation of objective sounds. And when I say objective sounds, I'm talking about beats, I'm talking about like the snares, the different types of sounds. It is what it is to itself. So a snare is a snare to itself, a bass is a bass to itself. It's not like words. So musicality in that sense, and it's kind of a very superficial musicality. It's very like on the surface, wherein when you hear a sound, you're going to hit the sound, you're going to try to kill whatever sound that is. So if it's a tat tat tat, you hit like tat tat tat. Like that's kind of what that is. And the more accurate you are with that sound, the more you look like you're creating the sound. Especially from anybody from popping influence can attest that when you look like you're looks like you're generating the sound with your body, then that's usually interpreted as dope or legit, or it just looks good. But speaking of that, on to the next one. The second one is what I'd like to call interpretation. Now, interpretation, as opposed to translation is more of objective sounds, while interpretation is more about the subjective sounds. And by the subjective sounds, I mean lyrics, like what is the message of the song, alright? Because when all of us hear one word, we might not necessarily have the right, or we all have different interpretations of what that word might be. A very classic example is the word baby. Now, a lot of times you'll hear in songs that they use the word baby. Now, you kind of have to ask yourself, what exactly do you mean? I usually see a lot of people gesture this, as in baby, as in an infant, but I doubt that majority of those times people are actually talking about infants. Most of the time they use baby as a term of endearment, which, it's like, oh, it's my baby, it's my girlfriend. And that's kind of the big issue about it, is that the lyrics are, obviously you make use of words, and words have like an equivocal property. So one word, like the example baby, can mean a lot of different things. And obviously we're kind of free to interpret, but the closer you are to the actual meaning of the song is what I would call a proper interpretation of the song. Alright? Because when the writer wrote that, I'm pretty sure they knew exactly what that was. And we have to kind of go under the assumption that those things can be known. And the closer we are to that, the better the musicality of the interpretation. Alright? The last out of the three aspects is what I'd like to call theme. Now, I use the word theme the same way film uses theme. Alright? Wherein the theme is pretty much the essential story, or doesn't necessarily even have to be a story. It could be like a mood. Alright? It's pretty much just the central idea that the song is going for. Alright? And that should color, it should inform the kind of choreography, the kind of moves you do, the kind of interpretation, the kind of way that you're going to go about the interpretation, it takes precedence over all of those things. A grand example would be lately a lot of people have been choreographing to making choreography to Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson. And I see a lot of choreography, and the thing is, if I'd had to judge, there's a lot of choreography that's going on, and it's great superficially, right? Sometimes they're gonna get the sound right, the dum 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 dum, and they're hitting all the sounds and the snares, and that's fantastic. And then they go into the interpretation, which, you know, like police and the firemen, too hot, they'll do all of those things. And the interpretation seems to be on point. You know, people are interpreting it, and a lot of people are interpreting it like fantastically. I like it, even though it's might not be exactly what the song is talking about. It still goes with the music, and it's clever. I enjoy it a lot. But a lot of the times where people go wrong, where I feel like the musicality lacks, is in the understanding of the theme. Now, Uptown Funk, as an example, is it's trying to kind of reimagine kind of the old school funk, the funk of that era. It's not just like a typical funk. It's not like a Jamiroquai funk or a Daft Punk funk where, you know, like, it's funky. It definitely has that groove. It makes you up groove, but it's not trying to play off on kind of like the old sounds, the old guitars, the old instruments. It's pretty much just they try to attest to a new school sound, while this song, Uptown Funk, it has that very, you know, I feel like the reason why it's gone viral is because of the fact that it has a very organic funk feel, and I feel like a lot of people aren't making use of that. They're treating that choreography like it's just any other song, or, you know, like they would hit a Kendrick Lamar song, or they would hit anything else, you know, like a Sam Smith song. And you kind of, everything is a case-to-case basis. You know, you really have to go about it that way. And I believe that those are kind of the aspects that surround musicality. See? And just think about that. Okay, Shuan Khan asks, different ways to kill the beat. Is killing the beat always necessary? Now, I personally believe that killing the beat isn't always necessary. Again, remember, it's always a case-to-case basis, all right? The thing that goes over a lot of people's heads in terms of choreography, well, especially in a hip-hop context, is that choreography, dance, like these things, this art form that we do, it's not independent. It's dependent on an art form that is already there, which is music. All right, so that the music already has its author. They already made their own interpretations. They generated the sound, all of these different things. It has a lot of art form in itself, and it's already kind of like a complete art. And what we're doing here on dance is we're deriving our art from like a derived work. All right. And when you think of things like that, you kind of have to understand that we're trying to harmonize best with the music. So maybe beat killing for Ace Hood might not be good for killing the beat for an Adele song. You see what I mean? Even though they might both have the same kind of aspects, you know, and I don't believe it's just a genre to genre. I don't think all trap should be treated the same or all dubstep should be treated the same. You know, obviously they have kind of their own, you know, powerful points, or their own selling points, if I may say. Obviously the trap music, it has like the beats, which, you know, more or less is very it entertains the notion of killing everything. You have to kill the beat all the time. While you might have those same elements in another trap song, but that trap song might be like a heavier kind of song, wherein it asks you to pay more attention to the lyrics or anything like that, if there are any lyrics, or the mood. Yeah. And I feel as choreographers, or I feel even as dancers or freestylers, we kind of have to get better synced with this kind of thing. We have to really tune ourselves into the kind of music and treat each song like they're special, because remember, somebody treated that song like it was special, and I feel like it would kind of be unfair if we didn't put that into our considerations when we're making our product or when we're just dancing. Okay, Ken Miharis asks, your creative process in making a choreography, or how do we stay inspired or creative in making pieces? Remember, originality, uniqueness, none of these things actually are part of the process. my personal process on trying to create pieces. I'm just trying to do my best with whatever music is handed to me, and I take a lot of things into consideration. Personally, song selection is always a big deal to me. Just because I don't treat any song arbitrarily. I don't choreograph arbitrarily. I never listen to music and, I'm never happy with just understanding a song superficially. Just like listening to beats and listening to some lyrics. I really kind of have to go deep into it just to be able to understand the kind of message. Because I can't, it's like, think of it this way. If somebody told you a story and you didn't understand the story well enough, when you're telling it to somebody else, it's probably going to be a completely different story. As a creative process, I really try to make sure that I understand these different things. The music, first and foremost. I want to be able to understand what I'm hearing so that when it gets processed in my brain and then I try very hard to display it again for the world to see, it's pretty spot on. Remember, personally, my goal is always to harmonize with music. I believe that songs always have their own strengths, and it has a beauty all on its own, and it's albeit for me. Like, the song doesn't need me to choreograph to it. It doesn't need me to make it any better, right? But the only way I can make it better is hopefully when people will see my choreography, they're going to listen to it'll give them newer insight to the songs, and that will, and the beauty of the music in it by itself will do the rest of the work. All right, Ryan Shi, or Ryan Schur, asks, training to be a better choreographer versus training to be a better freestyler. In what ways are the sessions the same or different? And how to become a better choreographer versus better freestyler? Okay, Ryan, I personally think that you can do both. A lot of people really aspire to be like this complete dancer, with freestyles and choreography and, industry and doing all of these kinds of different things. And I'm definitely for that, but you kind of have to invest time. The treatment of these two different things, it has to be very specific, all right? Because remember, freestyling and choreography, they have very, very varying, very, very different end games. Like the main objective is very, very different. In freestyle, okay, it's really more about the individualistic aspect of your dancing. Yeah, it's all about honesty. The more honest you are with yourself, that's what it is. You're never when you're popping, you're not doing an interpretation of a popper. You're doing it's you popping. On freestyle, you have kind of this improvisational aspect to it, which is central to it. While here in choreography, there's preparation involved. All right, so that's the reason why people might be good at one thing and might be bad at the other, and so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure that you can understand both while being better at one. Okay. Some people are better at preparing. Some people are better at improv. That's why improv actors, and there's they're memorization actors. They're two different things. But in order for you to get better at both, you have to treat them with the proper discipline. All right. So when you start your freestyle career, you kind of have to immerse in the freestyle culture, in the freestyle discipline, the fundamentals, the foundations, the history of that. And then when you do choreography, you have to treat it just the same way. It has its own history. It has its own, there's a lot of fundamental movement. There's a lot of fundamental ideas that is present in choreography that's not present in freestyle. And you kind of have to treat them differently, So the more you respect each individually, the better you will become on its own. Yeah? Immersion is always the best. Always the best way. Okay, David Doyle from Australia asks, what styles of dancing have you actually learned? When I was very, very little, I think I learned ballet. But that's when I was very, very little. Did I get any formal training though? Okay, Keo Herico asks, for LA, I'd like to learn more about how to get really into the music and being able to interpret it as much. For popping, I'd like to learn the rest aside from the basics, like the pop and the Fresno and stuff. I want to get into the technical base of popping because I feel like I'm really missing a lot of stuff. Keo, kumusta? For your question, sorry, I'm I can't get over the fact that you called it LA. It's been such a long time since I've heard that term. Back in the Philippines, that's what we used to call it. I think you're just pertaining to like choreography in general. In order for you to kind of interpret the music better, you kind of have to question how you're listening to it. Yeah? Because there's a difference between hearing a song and listening to a song. Yeah? There's a lot of times that and you can hear something over and over and over again, which, everybody can attest to since we have the radio. So we always listen to the song, but the meaning of the song could go completely over our heads. It goes off the radar. We don't know what the song is about until somebody tells us, or until we sit down and we really enjoy the song and we look up the lyrics. Now, a lot of the times people will make choreography to songs that they really, really enjoy. Enjoy to the point wherein they want to know more about the song, or they feel like they have a personal stake in the song. Like it means something to them. So the more that the song means something to you, it becomes the incentive to know more about it. The more you know about the song, the better your interpretation becomes. The better your understanding becomes, and it becomes like a golden path, like laid out for you. Then you know what you're going to do. You know what you want from it. So that's what it is for me. In terms of popping, I personally don't believe that you have to have learned the fundamentals to become a good popper. I believe it. I highly, highly recommend it. I really want everybody to know their fundamentals. If I knew my fundamentals way early on, or if somebody had taught me the foundations, I would have turned out a lot better popper. But do you necessarily need those things to become a good popper? I think not. And I think there's a lot of poppers out there who kind of had to learn for themselves that can testify to that. So, OGs, try not to kill me. I'm pretty sure you don't know where I live anyway. With that said, it's not that the fundamentals are not important, By you, persisting in the style, you keep, the more you keep dancing, the more you keep popping, you're going to kind of reverse learn the fundamentals anyway. And think of it this way: if you immerse yourself in the popping culture and you surround yourself around other poppers, when you're doing something good, they'll always give you props for it. And when they give you props for it, that's already kind of like the positive reinforcement for you to do that thing. You don't have to have something broken down for you to be able to do it. There are a lot of people who learn how to glide. When the glide became really, really popular, a lot of people were able to mimic the glide, but not actually understand the components of the glide itself. They didn't know the physics of the glide. They didn't know, like, the proper fundamentals for it. Ergo, they can't really teach it properly. They could just mimic it. They can just do it. And that becomes a very, very big difference. Maybe not so much in how it looks, because some people mimic it super duper well, and some people are just that talented. But the greatest thing about knowing the breakdown of it is it helps you so much to create something new. Okay, this is the last question. Kevin Ewan asks, where do you get inspiration to keep the passion going? The idea of passion is this: just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should do it. And just because you're not good at something, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. All right? Which leaves you kind of at a little bit of a dilemma. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Based on skill alone, the thing is, obviously every art form and style, career, business, whatever, it requires a certain level of talent, of aptitude. You have to kind of be, in sync with the career path of whatever it is you're doing, and enjoyment might not even be a factor. All right? Just because you enjoy dancing doesn't mean that you should be dancing. Passion really goes a long way. Kind of how you know if it really is your passion. One, if you were getting paid to do it, or if you were not getting paid to do it, would you still do it? Two, it didn't give you any immediate benefits or immediate satisfaction, would you still do it? Three, when you're not doing anything, is that all you think about? Is that all you do? Right? Four, is it something that you can really consider yourself the best at? Like, you imagine yourself that you can definitely be the best. Like, you watch all these other choreographers. If you want to be a choreographer, you watch all these other choreographers, and in your head, you're just like, I can be like that, or I know I can do that. You know, those are also good signs if you should kind of make that a career, or if you should keep going with your passion. Another one would be how much you care about it. All right. If you get to the point where you kind of be argumentative, and not that I'm not saying that you should be argumentative. It's not that I'm condoning if you're in everybody's faces or anything like that. But it is at least a very, very clear sign that you care about this thing a lot. If you want to really test how good your passion is about something, because everybody has passion, but the question is, how much passion do you have for it? If you want to, be able to gauge yourself, if you want a kind of measure to really be able to sum up if you should listen to your passion or not, or if you have enough passion at all, is if the one thing that your passion requires you to do is change, and you're willing to do it, then that is a very, very positive sign that you should go for it. If you're not willing to change, if you hate waking up, but you'll wake up anyway just for dance, or if you hate talking to people, but you'll talk to people anyway for dance, if you hate going to school, because there's a lot of times where a lot of us will get that parental pressure where we want to dance, and obviously parents don't want us to do it, and they're going to be like, you got to finish school. If you actually have the gall to be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to ace my school so that my parents won't get in between me and my dance, and then keep fighting for what that is, that already is a clear-cut sign. That's as much time as I have for today. I'm really sorry, but I tried to answer as many questions as I could. If I did not answer your question, please send them in again. I really want to be able to give my insight on a lot of different things that you want me to give insight to, or you want me to talk about. So please send them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my email. If you know me, ask me personally, and I'll try to get back to you. All right? Shout-outs, by the way, to Vlado Footwear, because they're always hooking eccentrics up. Releve, because your family, Releve Apparel. Thank you so much to Urban Street Jam, and Urban Street Jam is coming up. All right, we need people for that trio division, so please sign up, because that's kind of a fun division. That division is my favorite division, believe it or not. Okay, eccentrics, theorists, theory fam, we're all going to be at USJ, and watch out for Vibe 2. Secret. So yeah, this is Crane Sekhanan of the Eccentrics signing off. Thank you so much.